You know hibiscus tea, right? It's that beautiful, bright red drink that's kind of tart, almost like cranberry. You can have it hot, you can have it iced. It's everywhere. But what if I told you that behind that refreshing flavor, there's a really surprising scientific story brewing? A story that suggests this tea might be doing a whole lot more than just quenching your thirst. So here's the thing. Scientists weren't even looking for a weight loss link. Not at all. They were studying hibiscus for what it's famous for, helping lower blood pressure. And it does that really well, by the way. But as they were going through all the data from their studies, this one side effect just kept showing up. People were losing weight. And it was happening so consistently, they just couldn't ignore it. And you know what's really cool? This wasn't some idea that just popped up in a lab out of thin air. It actually has deep roots in traditional medicine. For generations, over in Mexico, for instance, hibiscus tea has been used as a traditional remedy for obesity. So modern scientists kind of had this historical breadcrumb trail, a hint that they were onto something potentially huge. Okay, so how in the world could a tea do something like this? Well, to get it, you've got to meet the main character in our body's fat digesting story. It's an enzyme called lipase. Think of lipase as the bouncer at a club. When you eat fat, it's lipase's job to break it down into smaller parts so your body can absorb it. The bottom line is if lipase isn't doing its job, that fat doesn't get in. So how does hibiscus mess with this whole process? Well, the best way to think about it is like a lock and key. Lipase is the key that's meant to unlock the fat you eat. But it turns out some of the natural compounds in hibiscus tea are like a piece of gum someone shoved in the keyhole. They literally get in the way and block the lipase enzyme. And what's the result? Some of the fat you eat never gets unlocked, so it just passes right on through your system without being absorbed. And this is just a classic scientific detective story. It all starts with that clue, right? The traditional folk remedy. Then, scientists take it into the lab, into test tubes, and bingo, they prove hibiscus can inhibit lipase. Okay, so from there, they move on to animal trials, and it works there too, reducing body fat in hamsters, mice, and rats. Which, of course, leads to the final, most important question, does it work in people? Right, I mean, all the lab work and animal studies are building a great case, but that's one thing. The real test, the gold standard, is always what happens when you study it in actual human beings. You know, randomized, placebo-controlled trials. This is where the story gets really compelling. So the first big human trial on this came out in 2014. And to do it right, they used capsules of dried hibiscus powder so people wouldn't know if they were getting the real thing or a placebo. After 12 weeks, the results looked fantastic. The hibiscus group saw real reductions in their waist measurement and their body fat percentage. Sounds amazing, right? But there was a big catch, a really big one. The dose they used was just massive. To get the same effect they saw in that study, you would have to drink the equivalent of 9 cups of hibiscus tea every single day. I mean, who's gonna do that? Not only is it totally impractical, but as we're about to see, chugging that much could actually be risky. So the study proved the concept, but it wasn't a real-world solution. Okay, so let's fast forward a few years to 2018. A new study comes out, and this one tries to solve that dosage problem. This time, they used a much more reasonable amount, what you'd get from about 1.5 cups of tea per day. Now, to be fair, they also added another herb, lemon verbena, which makes it a little tricky to say it was only the hibiscus, but the goal was clear: test something people could actually do. And the results? Just as exciting. Just get a load of these numbers. For 2 months, they had 2 groups of people eating diets with the exact same number of calories. The group taking the placebo lost about 3 pounds, which is pretty much what you'd expect. But the group that got the tea blend, they lost 5 pounds. That is a huge difference, especially when you remember they weren't eating any less food. Let that just sink in for a moment. These people lost an extra pound every month while eating the exact same amount as the other group. That is the fat blocking effect in action. See, it's not about killing your appetite so you eat less. It's about your body absorbing fewer calories from the food you're already eating. It's a totally different mechanism. Okay, so the science is clearly pointing in a very interesting direction. But what does all this research actually mean for you, for me, in our daily lives? Let's switch gears and get into the practical side of things. What does it actually look like to make hibiscus tea a part of your routine? So first thing you might be thinking is, why not just pop a hibiscus pill? Well, it seems like with this stuff, the whole is really greater than the sum of its parts. Scientists call it synergistic effects. Basically, all the different compounds in the hibiscus flower work together as a team, creating a bigger effect than any one of them could alone. And what's wild is that even white hibiscus, which doesn't have those red pigments, shows similar flat blocking effects. It really seems like brewing the whole flower is the way to go. All right, let's circle back to that safety warning I mentioned earlier. Remember that crazy 9-cup-a-day dose from the first study? The main reason that's a bad idea comes down to a mineral called manganese. Now, don't get me wrong, we need manganese. It's an essential nutrient, but hibiscus tea is loaded with it, and getting way too much over a long period of time can be harmful. So, like with most things in life, moderation is definitely key. So what is a safe amount? Well, based on all the data on manganese, the general advice is to stick to no more than a quart a day, which works out to be about 4 cups. That seems to be the sweet spot, where you can get the potential benefits without pushing your luck on the manganese intake. And hey, one last little practical tip, and this one is for your smile. Like a lot of tart drinks, think lemon water or fruit juice, hibiscus tea is acidic. That acid can temporarily soften the enamel on your teeth. So here's a super simple trick. When you're done with your tea, just swish your mouth with some plain water, and, this is important, wait at least an hour before you brush your teeth. You don't want to be scrubbing at your enamel when it's in that softened state. So when you look at the whole story, from an ancient folk remedy all the way to a modern lab, hibiscus tea is just this amazing example of science, uncovering these secrets that are hiding right in our kitchen cupboards. Now, let's be clear, it's not a magic pill for weight loss. But the science is strong, and it suggests that this simple, delicious drink could actually be a useful tool. Which really just leaves us with one final thought to ponder. Could your kettle hold one of the keys to managing your weight?